look at, I've been through DocuSign in my life, because that's what my wife did for 20, 30 years.
Oh,
as a
was she?
realtor.
Oh, okay.
Almost all DocuSign.
So yeah, you're good to go then.
Oh, yeah.
I stand corrected.
I have to stand and look over Becky's shoulder to make sure she's not signing me up stuff I didn't agree with. Welcome back investigators. So nice to have you today.
Okay, 51.
Council Brady has arrived. The door will be closed.
Investigation report. Is that you, isn't it? It was.
You've been using Adobe PDF to digitally sign them since like.
We'll wait for our staff to give us the heads up that we're ready, but just for the record, we'll begin in a moment when we get the okay with item 51 on our executive session agenda.
We are working on getting them online.
Is this person attending?
Yes, that's why we are working on getting them
Blame you.
online.
For working on that.
Chair Fiskum, you're welcome in terms of reading your script about the 5-part process. But please know, we also did send them that new notice that lays all that out.
Thank you. And I meant to say that earlier, just while we're waiting, just so you know, I and before me, other chairs have indicated what our process is for considering preliminary reviews. A good step was taken by our staff to give that information more precisely to those respondents as they appear before us. If I enunciate that, it's that some folks might not have read the letter that they got announcing that, indicating that. So I'll try to go through that fairly quickly, but thank you, Chair. I mean, Director. I'm the chair, you're the director. Investigator Pacheco, good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you too.
Thank you. This is Adina Ferguson. When we're ready, you tell me.
We are getting her voicemail. We haven't been able to actually get in contact with her, so.
Should we go elsewhere first or not?
We do not have the next people online yet, so we do have Mr. West online, but it doesn't look like we have Mr. King online. So my recommendation would be simply to move forward. I mean, if he's not responding to the text.
Okay, so move forward, and then what do we start with then?
With
Director?
51.
Pardon me?
With Ms. Ferguson's case.
Yeah, but she's not online.
I will note that she emailed me a supplemental response this morning, which I forwarded to Becky. So she's aware that the meeting was going to start this morning and that she was going to get a text.
We got her.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently she's on the line momentarily. Ms. Ferguson, are you on the line?
I am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you for joining us today. This is the time set to consider the matter involving you. For our purposes, it happens to be item number 51 on our executive session agenda. Introduce myself. My name is Dave Fiskum. I'm the chair of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. To consider your matter before us today, we'll be engaging in a 5-part process, which you may already be aware of. One, we'll have a presentation by our investigator. Secondly, we'll ask questions as commissioners of our investigator if we have any to ask. Third, we'll give you a chance to make any comments you choose to make to us. Fourth, as commissioners may have questions of you after your comments. And fifth, the time is reserved for the commission to discuss and to make a decision on the issue before us. That said, we will move forward, and Mr. Investigator Pacheco will make a report on your matter before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Fiskum and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda item 51 in your meeting books is a preliminary review report for Adina Ferguson, manager for the South County Health District's Union Family Dental Clinic. In this case, Ms. Ferguson manages the day-to-day business of the dental clinic and is also the daughter of District Board Member Debbie Clark. The Commission voted on September 13, 2024, on its own motion to initiate a preliminary review regarding the possibility that Ms. Ferguson may have violated provisions in RRS Chapter 244. Based on the information gathered, it appears Ms. Ferguson failed to properly declare a conflict of interest on numerous occasions. Per RS 244.120 sub 1C, when a public official is met with a conflict of interest, they must declare the nature of their conflict in writing to their appointed authority and ask that the conflict be disposed of. In this case, it appears Ms. Ferguson failed to do so when creating a feasibility study and district manager presentation, which included recommendations to purchase her parents' property, known as the Clark property. It also appears Ms. Ferguson failed to disclose her conflict when issuing payments to hire an engineer to do a study on the Clark property that would enable the board to acquire funds to purchase it. Additionally, after the board voted to purchase the Clark property for $189,000, it appears Ms. Ferguson failed to disclose her conflict of interest when issuing payment on behalf of the district to the title company. Next, per RS 244.040 sub 1, it is not allowable for a public official to create an opportunity for themselves, a relative, or a business with which they are associated that could result in a financial benefit or detriment. In this case, it appears Ms. Ferguson used her position to create a feasibility study which included the Clark property. Based on review of the meeting materials, it appears Ms. Ferguson's feasibility study was biased and may have convinced the board to favor the Clark property. These opportunities were only available to her as a dental clinic manager. Similar to the feasibility study, it appears that Ms. Ferguson used information provided in the district manager presentation to recommend the Clark property to the board by providing the views of dental clinic staff that preferred her parents' property. This opportunity was only available because she held her official position. Should this case move to investigation, Commission staff would seek to gather information on Ms. Ferguson's involvement regarding the feasibility study, as it is unclear if the board authorized that she prepare it. Additionally, Commission staff would gather information regarding the district manager presentation, as it is unclear whether the board approved its creation or the amount of district funds that Ms. Ferguson was allotted to use for the task. The recommendation in your books is to move this case to investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, investigator. Any questions for our investigator? Hearing for the moment and seeing none, we'll now move to hear comments from you, Ms. Ferguson. Feel free to make any comments you choose to make to us. And as you do, introduce yourself for the record. Please proceed.
Okay, my name is Adina Ferguson. I'm the district manager of South County Health District. So I do have a couple of comments. Mr. Pachinko did say that that it was unclear whether or not the board had voted for me to do the study. He noted in his own notes that in the board meeting minutes that they had me do the study. Also, they knew that I was related to Deborah Clark. Unfortunately, I didn't know that I had to declare it at the meetings every time that I was related to her, and I wish I had known that. But it was not a secret that we were related.
Thank you for those comments. Appreciate it. Anything else to say quickly?
No, I just,
okay.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
Yeah, no, that's everything. Thank you.
No, we may have some questions for you. We'll see what happens. Now is the time to ask questions of Ms. Ferguson. If anybody has a question or a comment, hearing at the moment and seeing none, the question now arises for us colleagues about what action you want to take. Any quick discussion on what you've heard from our investigator and our respondent? The proposal, Mr. Thompson, please.
Mr. Chair, I think there's some questions here that need to be cleared up, and we would benefit from an investigation into this matter, one way or the other, to answer those questions.
Mr. Thompson, thank you. Hearing and seeing no other comment, no other hands raised. Mr. Thompson, please make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I hereby move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Adina Ferguson may have violated ORS 244.120 sub 1 and ORS 244.040 sub 1, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, colleagues. Any questions on the motion before us? Hearing and seeing none, the administrator will call the roll on item 5.1.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Mayor Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you, colleagues. Ms. Ferguson, our staff will be in touch with you. Please understand the following, which I believe you may already know in letters from us to you about this process. Today, we have not decided that any ethics violation has actually been committed. We have simply identified the need for more information, a summary of which Mr. Pacheco has provided for us. And so please understand that distinction, which is a very important one for us and for you, and it's not one that's well understood. So thank you for your patience with our agenda today and for appearing before us. Our staff will be in touch with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Colleagues, will now move to item 5.3 involving Mr. Dan Hudson. Is he appearing before us?
Yes, he is now entering the meeting.
Thank you.
And it's like 5-3 to 5-6.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, I have an arrow that,
We are waiting to hear from Attorney Michael Spencer.
have those individuals agreed to appear and waive confidentiality, all of them, each of them?
Yes,
Okay.
believe so.
Okay, so you're admitting all four of the
Yes, that is
individuals
correct.
with counsel? With counsel?
Only one of them wanted to appear and then counsel for one of the others wanted to
Okay,
appear, but they can all be heard together.
I appreciate
because they
that.
waive
here and then,
confidentiality.
then decide individually with the proper time. Okay. So who's on the line? Mr. Hudson, are you on the line and can you hear me? You're on
Yes,
mute.
I can.
There you go. Thank you very much. Do you have counsel with you?
No, I just wanted to monitor and I don't wish to add any additional information.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, colleagues, we're going to proceed with item number 53 through 56, with the ability to make one report that pertains to all of those, to which end I will refer to Investigator Pacheco.
Thank you, Chair Fiscum and Commissioners. This is Investigator Diana Pacheco for the record. All members concerning this case have waived confidentiality and only Ms. Dobb is represented by District Legal Counsel Michael Spencer. Agenda item 53 through 56 in your meeting book is a preliminary review report for the Klamath County Fire District Board of Directors. The complaint in this matter concerns two district board meetings, a July 28th special meeting and executive session, and an August 15th regular meeting and executive session. Among other allegations, Christine Friend asserts the board failed to properly notice their meetings and privately deliberated to terminate her as the district fire chief on August 15th. Based on the information gathered in this preliminary review, it appears the board violated multiple provisions of public meetings law. In this case, it appears the board failed to provide adequate notice to the public with the date, time, and location for both meetings in violation of ORS 192.640 sub 1. In fact, it appears the board failed to notice the July 28th meeting at all and held the meeting privately in the office of District Legal Counsel Michael Spencer. Additionally, the August 15th regular meeting was released the morning of and failed to provide the public with the proper time and location. Next, at both meetings, it appears the board failed to publicly announce the statutory authorization for convening each executive session in a properly noticed meeting and discuss unauthorized topics. In this case, at both the July 28th meeting, the board's executive session was cited to discuss initial hiring of an employee, but instead the board discussed district grants and personnel issues with district employees and former fire chief Friend. At the August 15th meeting, the board convened an executive session to discuss litigation likely to be filed after Ms. Friend provided public testimony following her suspension as the fire chief. In his grievance response, District Counsel Spencer explained that because Ms. Friend's testimony consisted of, quote, complaining about previous meetings, it gave legal counsel good cause to believe she was threatening to file litigation over the matter. When the board convened their executive session, it appears the board's comments were made on guidance as whether to terminate Ms. Friend from the district. Thus, it appears the board exceeded the scope of the executive session provisions and discussed unauthorized topics at both meetings. Lastly, it appears that members of the board engaged in serial communications. In this case, email correspondences between a quorum of the board and Mr. Spencer indicates that the board made a decision or deliberated on whether to suspend Ms. Friend as the district fire chief, which also constituted a meeting subject to public meetings law. Based on the information gathered in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that the Klamath County Fire District Board violated the following provisions in public meetings law: ORS 192.640 sub 1, ORS 192.660 sub 1 and sub 2, ORS 192.630 sub 1, sub 2, and sub 4, and ORS 192.670 sub 1. The recommendation in your books is to move this case to investigation. Thank you.
Investigator, part two of our process today, Mr. Hudson, as you hear this, is for us to ask questions of our investigator. Are there any questions for Investigator Pacheco?
No, sir. Thank you.
Hearing and seeing none, Mr. Hudson, if you choose to make any comments to us, which is your prerogative, this is your time to do so. And if you do so, please identify yourself for the record. And if you choose to proceed, please proceed.
I'm fine. I have no comments to make or questions to ask. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Colleagues, now is the time. There'll be no questions for Mr. Hudson because he hasn't spoken, though he's online. Thank you for being here. The time now comes for us to make a decision about how to proceed on item 5.3. When it comes time, as we move through similar items, Mr. Spencer may be here to represent Ms. Dobb when that arises 3 or 4 items down the road. This is item 53. Colleagues, how would you like to proceed on this matter? I presume there might be a consensus that we need more information, and if so, the investigator's outlined what he would do on our behalf. I'll look to you, Commissioner Thompson, for a motion.
Sure. Mr. Chair, I hereby move the commission find there's substantial objective basis to believe that Dan Hudson violated ORS 192.640 sub 1, ORS 192.660 sub 1, ORS 192.660 sub 2, ORS 192.630 sub 1, ORS 192.630 sub 2, and ORS 192.670 sub 1, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Chair, could I
Please,
just
directly.
clarify that the motion is that he may have violated?
Absolutely may have violated.
Right.
That's an important distinction, just for
Did I
the
not say
record,
that?
because the word is may have violated, because I'll come back to that in a moment. Colleagues, you've heard the motion. Any questions on the motion? Comments on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, the administrator will call the roll. Item 5.3.
Commissioner McCauley. Aye. Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez.
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Hudson, we've voted to move forward to conduct an investigation. Please understand what I hope you understand already, which is by that action today, we have not found there to be any kind of a violation. We've simply identified the need for more information, and our staff will be in touch with you with regard to that need for more information. Thank you for your attendance with us today and for listening into this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. We'll move to item number 5.4 now, and Investigator Pacheco, I'm going to assume your report stands as already given.
That is correct.
Thank
Yes.
you. Nobody is appearing on this matter by my count. Mr. Esparza, is that right? Nobody's appearing, so we're ready to move on this. Commissioner Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Dennis Warden may have violated ORS 192.640 sub 1, ORS 192.660 sub 1, ORS 192.660 sub 2, ORS 192.630 sub 1, ORS 192.630 sub 2, and ORS 192.670 sub 1, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Colleagues, you've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? The administrator will call the roll. Item 5.4.
Commissioner Burke.
Sorry, slow on the mute. Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley. Aye. Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. Colleagues, we'll move to item number 5.5 involving Cameron Duncan. The Investigator Pacheco report stands as given. Commissioner Thompson, please, item 5.5.
Mr. Chair, I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Cameron Duncan may have violated ORS 192-640 sub 1, ORS 192-660 sub 1, ORS 192-660 sub 2, ORS 192-630 sub 1, ORS 192-630 sub 2, and ORS 192-670 sub 1, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, Commissioner. The administrator will call the roll, item 5.5.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Chair Fiskham.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Colleagues, will now move to item 5.6 involving Allison Dobb. An attorney was scheduled to be online, but is not so online as I say that. So the investigator Pacheco's report will stand as given as he nods his head yes. There he goes. Commissioner Thompson, please, item 5.6.
Mr. Chair, I hereby move that the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Allison Dobb may have violated ORS 192-640 sub 1, ORS 192-660 sub 1, ORS 192-660 sub 2, ORS 192-630 sub 1, ORS 192-630 sub 2, and ORS 192-670 sub 1, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
The Commissioner, the administrator will now call the roll, item 5.6.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Fiskham.
That me, pardon me.
Motion passed 5-0.
I was busy doing other important things, just so you know. Thank you, colleagues. That concludes that string of items. Investigator Pacheco, thank you for your help. If you come up again, we'll yell at you. Thank you for being with us remotely. Okay, colleagues, we'll now move to items 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9. Can those all be considered in tandem with each other or in triplicate with each other? Pardon me. Thank you very much, investigator. And I think at least all three of those individuals, as well as an attorney, Connor King, will be online with us.
We have John West, Connor King in.
Okay, and Mr. Barchiger and
We have
however you say his name, Blesh or Bleck is not in, Ms., pardon me, are not there yet.
We have not opened yet.
Pardon me? Mr.
Mr. Bletch was.
Andreas, pardon me, I see that. Thank you very much. Okay, so those individuals, should we wait for those individuals to join or proceed with the ones we have in the room now with us?
Give them, I don't know how long ago we noticed them to join.
We've noticed them, right?
We've noticed them multiple times and Mr. Black has been online for a long time and has been in and out of the meetings. So they're very aware.
Let's proceed. And it will be fair, I think, help me with this, Investigator McIntyre, that we can consider your report for applying to all of these matters together.
Correct.
They have waived confidentiality, even though we'll decide on them individually. Is that
Correct.
fair?
I believe now the confidentiality is presumed unless they are asked or unless they ask for.
Fair point. Okay, we will now deal with items 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9, acting on them individually eventually, but we'll hear a report from our investigator, Andrew McIntyre, please.
It looks like
Andreas has joined the meeting. Andreas Bletch.
Andrew McIntyre, investigator. Thank you, Chair Fiskham and Commission. This is regarding agenda items number 57, 58, 59, which is for the Josephine County Board of Commissioners, John West, Herman Bershinger, and Andres Bletch. In this case, the board is alleged to have conducted a serial meeting in order to move the county's HR department under their finance department. And the allegation is they used an intermediary, a Miss Sandy Novak, who is the county's finance director, in order to communicate between commissioners and in order to circumvent Oregon Public Meetings Law. It does appear, based on the information available, that Ms. Novak individually spoke with each of the three commissioners on this topic prior to the August 22nd, 2024 meeting. And that is the meeting where the commissioners voted to actually consolidate the HR and finance departments. In the board's official grievance response, they stated the idea of combining the two departments, and this is directly off their response. Quote, had previously been considered in various forums and informal conversations. However, none of the commissioners provided additional information when they were directly asked what these other forums and informal conversations entailed. Given that the board admits that there were conversations about this consolidation and those happened outside of a public meeting, and the discrepancy between the board's official grievance response, the information they provided to commission staff, there does appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that the Josephine County Board of Commissioners may have violated Oregon Public Meeting Law, and we should move to investigate ORS 192630, ORS 192640, and ORS 192650.
Thank you, investigator. Colleagues online, or respondents, pardon me, online, Mr. West, Mr. Barchiker, Mr. Bletch, if I'm saying that right, sir, and we'll come around to that, and Mr. King. We've just heard step one of a 5-part procedure. Step one was an investigator's report, which the commission has now heard. Step two will be a chance for us as commissioners to ask our investigator any questions. Step three is your opportunity to make any comments you choose to make to us on the record. And if you so choose, which is your option, please identify yourself at the proper time for the record. Step four, we may have questions for you based on your comments to us. Step five will be a chance for us as commission to make a decision on each of your matters as they appear before us. All of that said, now that you've, Commissioner Burke has his hand up first, please respond or comment.
Yes, thank you. I hope I'm doing this at the right time, but I need to declare a potential conflict of interest with respect to agenda item number 58.
Commissioner Burke is not the right time. Council,
Oh, okay.
when should you?
My apologies.
No. Please.
Conflicts of interest need to be declared in advance while we're still in an open session. If it is an actual or a potential conflict of interest, I will advise that any prior association with one of the respondents on another board or commission or in another context does not create a conflict of interest.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move forward now. And anybody have any questions for our investigator based on his report? Hearing and seeing none, the time is now respondents, if I can use that general phrase, for you to make any comments you choose to make to us. And please feel free to use any order you choose. You don't all have to speak, but if you speak to us, please identify yourself for the record and proceed. And I'm not sure, Mr. King, are you speaking for all three individuals, or are you speaking for one or more? What's your role here? Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. And good morning, or almost afternoon. I am representing Mr. West and no others, but I do think that it would be helpful for me to make a statement first to sort of give a breadth of information, and then if Mr. West or the other commissioners want to speak, then that's happy to let them.
As long as Mr. West concurs with you being first and the others, please proceed, and I'll assume that happens unless somebody is opposed to that idea. Mr. King, please proceed.
Hey, thank you, commissioners. So I think that a little bit of background and context here is important. In this case, the head of the HR department.
Mr. King, would you please introduce yourself for the record?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
This is Connor King. I'm an attorney representing Mr. John West, regarding this matter.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So I think some context is important before diving into it. First, the head of the HR department in this case had been an interim department head for, I believe, almost a year. Due to budget cuts, the commission had already consolidated multiple other departments over the year. So consolidation of these two departments was not some kind of extraordinary action of any kind. The situation facing the commission of having the head of the HR department exist as an interim head was present in the minds of the commissioners, and it had been brought up previously during public meetings as an administrative matter or by county legal counsel, just incidental to other matters that were being discussed, including relating to budget constraints and the interim department head. The complainant here is, I also feel compelled to say that the complainant here is JJ Schofield. Mr. Schofield is a former employee of the county whose departure was less than amicable. He has made approximately 6 or 7 complaints against Mr. West and or the board since his departure from the county, and I believe at least 4 or 5 of those complaints were dismissed without even a preliminary review, and none of the complaints have resulted in a finding or order against Mr. West. And I think, you know, I'm starting to get the impression that this is targeted harassment on the part by Mr. Schofield. With respect to the allegations here, just going through a little bit of the factual background, the August 22nd, 2024 meeting, Mr. West put that item on the agenda, moving HR under finance. Following the placement of that item on the agenda, it's my understanding the other commissioners each spoke separately with the finance department head, Ms. Novak, to ask her if she could handle the additional responsibilities involved with consolidating another department under her auspices. Mr. West never spoke directly with the other commissioners about consolidating the HR and finance departments outside of the setting of a public meeting. He also never used Ms. Novak as an intermediary or asked, suggested, or implied that in any way that she should operate as an intermediary. And Ms. Novak, when asked by the commission investigator, Mr. McIntyre, was quite clear that she never shared or relayed any information received from one commissioner to another commissioner. And really, there is no evidence whatsoever that the commissioners discussed the matter of consolidating the HR and finance departments outside of official public meetings, either directly or through an intermediary. The one item that I think needs to be addressed is that the board, the preliminary review states that and I quote, the board admits that conversations about the consolidation occurred outside of a public meeting. That is not what the board said in its response. The PR sets forth what the board said in its response, and that was that the concept of consolidating the human resources and finance departments has been considered in various forums and informal conversations. That's the direct quote. And what the board meant by that was that the consolidation of the HR and finance departments was something that had been brought up in prior public meetings, but it was incidental to discussions about the HR department generally, and the fact that the department head was an interim department head, the fact that there were budget cuts that needed to be done. County legal counsel had brought up that, okay, we need to do something about this in terms of, we have a situation of impermanence here, and we need to get stability and permanence for the HR department, whether that's bringing in or making the current department head's position permanent, or hiring somebody new, or consolidating it with another department. It was something that was discussed incidental to other matters. So the other forums, were in informal conversations. By that, what was meant was that it occurred in the context of other conversations during public meetings happening prior to August 22nd. It was not deliberations or conversations between the commissioners or using an intermediary outside of that. It may have also referred to the individual conversations that the board members had with Ms. Novak, but those aren't those are perfectly reasonable to have individually. And Ms. Novak has been quite clear that she does not share conversations that she has with certain commissioners with the other commissioners. And then another item in the report, it said that the commissioners did not respond to the question about what forums informal conversations were being referenced. I responded on Mr. West's behalf to that question. I wasn't sure what was meant by informal forums, informal conversations. I had assumed that was a allegation by J.J. Schofield, and I believe that was included in his complaint. But I didn't know what Mr. Schofield was talking about. How would he would even have that information? But beyond that, I made it clear that Mr. West never had any conversations with any other commissioners except during public meetings, and I made that clear in the response. So, in my opinion, the rationale for further investigation here is either non-existent or incredibly thin. If individual conversations with Ms. Novak constitute grounds for moving forward with an investigation, I would imagine, does putting an agenda on a public meeting or putting an item on a public meeting agenda, does that constitute communication? He knows the other commissioners are going to see that, and then they may go talk to Ms. Novak. But technically, does that considered conversations outside of a public meeting? I don't think there's any reason at all to move forward with an investigation on this, and I think that Mr. Schofield's track record of baseless complaints and allegations kind of speak for itself. And that's all I have to say on the matter. But I'm happy if Mr. West or Mr. Blesh want to comment. I don't know if the other commissioner is here as well.
Thank you, Mr. King. We'll proceed to hear from others before we decide if there are questions to ask you. I want to turn next to Mr. West. Mr. West, if you choose to follow up on what your counsel has said, this is your chance to do so. For what it's worth, you're on mute now. So if you unmute yourself and want to speak, now is your chance to identify yourself for the record. Thank you for being here.
Yes, hopefully you can hear me. This is John West, County Commissioner, Josephine County. Just to reiterate, the Sandy Novak, the right now HR/finance director, she works for all three commissioners. In my opinion, all three commissioners can talk with Ms. Novak about any and all subjects to do with the county, but at no time has she ever relayed to me any conversation that she had with any of the other commissioners, or even she doesn't even relate to me that she speaks to them, let alone on what the subject would be. And she's very professional, and we make sure that is in case what always happens. And we try to follow that religiously by the law, because we have about 20 different directors. And so we make sure that we never, because we are the bosses of all of them, that we don't get caught into that position. So everybody's very professional and make sure that does not happen. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. West. Again, we may come back to you in a moment. We'll proceed now to Mr. Bletch. If you choose to make any comments to us, now is your chance. And again, there you're unmuted yourself. So please proceed, identify yourself for the record. Thank you for being here.
Yes, good morning, Council. Andreas Blake here, Commissioner, Josephine County. And I don't have any comments other than I affirm what Mr. West's counsel, I believe Mr. King, said was very accurate in his representation and describing what had happened. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Is Mr. Barchiger on the line anywhere? Moment.
Yes, I am. Yes. Hello.
This is your chance to make any comments to us if you choose to make, Mr. Barchiger, and identify yourself for the record. If you choose to speak, thank you.
Yes, Herman Bertschiger, Commissioner, Josephine County. Can you hear me well?
Please proceed. Yes.
Okay. So we need to back up a little bit here. We have to always remember all three commissioners knew that a decision was going to have to be made with HR as we had a time limit on how long we could have an interim HR director. So that was knowledge that was given to us over several meetings, all open to the public. And also remember that we have matters of the commissioners on all of our agendas. So sometimes when something's not on the agenda, it is brought up through matters of the commissioners. So we all knew that this clock was ticking. My conversation with Mrs. Novak was very, very early, and it was limited to the extent where I had asked her, does she have the capacity to take on another department? And her answer was yes. That was about the limit of my conversation with Mrs. Novak. So time went on. I went on vacation. I came back. This got put on the agenda. And I believe I made the motion that we add the departments together. At no time did Mrs. Novak convey to me what the other commissioners were thinking. I did state in the meeting, and I said, I think the other commissioners had talked to Mrs. Novak, and think that's a presumption, but that, you would think that they would have probably went and asked her also if she would be interested in taking this on. But I have no knowledge if she did. I did not acknowledge that in that statement. I also need to remind the commission, in addition to all these ethics complaints by an individual that used to work for the county, there's also been newspaper comments by the individual with allegations of the commissioners. I also have stood at public meetings where the public has an opportunity to speak and has made allegations about the commissioners and social media. So there's a pattern here. But I will tell the commission that my talk with Sandy Novak was very limited, very short, and quite a ways away from before August 22nd. And also all the commissioners knew that there was going to have to be a decision made at some point in the near future. Other than that, I'm open to any questions the commissioners may have.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Appreciate your patience with our agenda. This is the time for commissioners to ask any questions of the four who've delivered comments to us in the last moments. Any questions, colleagues? Okay, hearing and seeing none, the time now arrives for us to decide what to do about the matters before us. We will deal with those individually. So the first item before us will be item number 5.7, dealing with John West. Commissioners, how would you like to proceed? Hearing and seeing no volunteers, I will call on Commissioner Thompson to consider make a comment and or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'm struggling with this one because obviously this serial communication thing is a difficult one to put your finger on. But if you've got three commissioners telling you that they didn't have conversations about what the other commissioner said with the HR director, and the HR director appears to be saying the same thing, I'm just not sure what a further investigation is going to get us.
For what your chair believes, I would concur with that. And I think the word that I would describe here for this strikes me, with all due respect to our investigator, as a little thin. And I think Commissioner Thompson has said it right. Three public officials have appeared before us today and said, no, it's not true, and have told us the character, tone, character, and content of their discussion. So I would tend to be in your camp, Commissioner Thompson. So I'll look to you for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I I move that the commission find the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that John West violated provisions of public meetings law or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Any questions about the motion before you as you've heard it, colleagues? Director, any comments from you about our motion? Okay, thank you. Okay, comments from colleague commissioners, hearing and seeing none. You've heard the motion before us to dismiss. In summary form, the administrator will now call the roll. Item 5-4. Is that right?
5-7.
Pardon me, 5-7. Thank you. 5-7. Go ahead.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Chair Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
That matter, Commissioner Thompson, pardon me, West has been dismissed. We'll proceed through the other items, and you and your counsel should stay online after we're done today in just a moment. We'll now move to item number 5-8. I presume our investigator's report stands as given. Correct. Mr. Thompson, please.
Mr. Chair, I move the commission find that the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that Herman Bartschiger has violated provisions of public meetings law or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Questions about the motion? Seeing none, the administrator will call the roll, please. Item 5-8.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez.
Aye.
Chair Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Colleagues, thank you. We'll turn to item number 5-9 involving Andreas Bleck, if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. The investigator's report will stand as given. Commissioner Thompson, please.
Mr. Chair, I move the commission find that the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that Andreas Bleck has violated provisions of public meetings law or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you, colleagues. You've heard the motion. The administrator will now call the roll. Item 5-9.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez.
Aye.
Chair Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
All of these three matters have now been dismissed. Those who appeared before us, thank you for your patience with our schedule today, and we appreciate your comments to us today. So this matter has, in fact, these matters have in fact been dismissed. Please, Mr. King and Mr. West, stay with us, and we'll move to the other item involving you in just a moment. Thank you, gentlemen.
I think he's just frozen.
Yeah, right.
Hang on.
Okay, it appears we're ready to proceed. Colleagues, we're going to move from item 59 down to item 61 since Mr. West was already with us. And then we'll consider that on its own. The investigator will please make a report on item 61. Investigator Sullivan, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Fiscum and Commission. This is Investigator Josh Sullivan for the record. I'm presenting agenda item 61. This is a complaint against John West, Chair of the Josephine County Board of Commissioners. The complaint in this case alleges that John West may have violated Oregon government ethics law by using a Josephine County phone number on a political campaign advertisement and may have used county staff for personal campaign business. In this case, a full-page advertisement was published in the October issue of the Grant's past sneak preview newspaper supporting John West in an upcall campaign election. The advertisement was not authored by Mr. West, and nothing indicates that Mr. West had any input in the advertisement's content. Also, the advertisement was paid for by the voters of conservative leadership, a political action committee which is not candidate controlled. The advertisement lists the Josephine County Courthouse phone number. However, it does not appear that Mr. West lists county phone numbers on his personal campaign advertisements or his website. On these platforms, Mr. West directs questions to his campaign email address. Also, it does not appear that Mr. West directed Josephine County employees to answer campaign-related questions or use county phones for campaign purposes. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there does not appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that John West may have violated the provisions or the prohibited use of office provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is to dismiss the complaint against Mr. West.
Investigator Sullivan, any questions for our investigator from commissioners? Hearing and seeing none, Mr. West, this is your chance to make any comments to us if you choose to make such comments. At the moment, you're on mute, so I'm seeing your head shaking no.
Yeah, we
Mr.
have
King,
no
anything?
comments. Yes, sorry, we have no comment other than we agree with the recommendation to dismiss.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for our respondents? Hearing and seeing none, we will now move to a decision on item 61. Commissioner Thompson, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that the commission find that the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that John West has violated Oregon government ethics laws or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you. The administrator will please call the roll. Item 6-1.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Chair Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. West and Mr. King, the item has been dismissed. Thank you for your patience with our agenda today and for appearing before us. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, commissioners. You as well.
We'll now move to item number 62 on our executive session agenda involving Andrea Wishart, however that's said.
60.
Pardon me, I apologize. We'll get about item number 60 involving Mr. Justin Peterman, who is not appearing. The investigator will make a report to us on item 60. Investigator Sullivan, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Fiscum and Commission. This is Investigator Josh Sullivan for the record. I'm presenting agenda item number 60. This is a complaint against Justin Peterman, board chair of the Sutherland School District. The complaint in this case alleges that Justin Peterman may have violated Oregon government ethics law by attempting to use his official position for financial gain and failing to publicly announce a conflict of interest when his business completed striping work at the Sutherland School parking lots. In this case, the school superintendent was responsible for finding contractors to complete a variety of summer projects, one of which was putting up traffic signs and getting striping done. The superintendent utilized the project management company, West Coast Solutions, which negotiated contracts with S&B James Construction and Umpqua Aggregate Resources, or UAR, to complete the projects. UAR subcontracted with CNR Striping to complete the striping part of the project. Mr. Peterman is the owner of CNR Striping Company. Ryan Gill, owner of UAR, stated that he occasionally utilizes CNR Striping Company to complete striping work, and he independently reached out to them. He stated that Mr. Peterman did not request or reach out to him about the work. The school itself did not contract with Mr. Peterman or any of his businesses and did not issue them any payments. Additionally, the school board did not recommend, make any decisions, or take any actions to contract with CNR Striping Company, Mr. Peterman, or any other business to complete the striping project. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there does not appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Justin Peterman may have violated the conflict of interest or prohibited use of office provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is to dismiss the complaint against Mr. Peterman.
Investigator, any questions for our investigator? Hearing and seeing none, and nobody appearing on this matter. Mr. Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the commission find that the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that Justin Peterman has violated Oregon government ethics law or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you. Heard the motion. The administrator will call the roll, please. Item 6-0.
Commissioner Burke,
That would be an aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. We will now turn to the next to last item on our executive session agenda, item 62, involving Andrea Wishart. The investigator in this matter is Investigator Pacheco. Please, Investigator Pacheco, make your report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Fiscom and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda item 62 in your meeting book is a preliminary review report for Andrea Wishart, counselor for the town of Lakeview City Council. In this case, Ms. Wishart self-reported that she had failed to declare a conflict of interest when voting whether to dissolve the 911 dispatch center where her daughter also worked. Based on the information gathered in this preliminary review, it appears that all members of the 911 dispatch center, including Ms. Wishart's daughter, would be affected to the same degree and the class exception would apply. Therefore, it does not appear that she was met with a conflict of interest. Likewise, it does not appear that the opportunity to vote against dissolving 911 dispatch was only available to Ms. Wishart but for her official position. Thus, it does not appear that she took any action in her official capacity that would constitute a prohibited use of office. Based on the information gathered, there does not appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Ms. Wishart violated ORS 244.120 sub 2 or ORS 244.040 sub 1. Recommendation in your books is to dismiss. Thank you.
Investigator, any questions for Investigator Pacheco? Hearing and seeing none. Commissioner Thompson, please.
Mr. Chair, I move the commission find the complaint and information available during preliminary review appears to be insufficient to constitute a substantial objective basis for believing that Andrea Wishart has violated provisions of Oregon government ethics law or warrant further review, and that this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you. The administrator will please call the roll. Item number 62. Thank you.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. We'll turn now to item 63, a possible own motion preliminary review.
We need to change recordings and an attorney does want to be